Now, from what I understand, there are a handful that PSA did grade at the very outset. Yeah,
Hmm.
I figured you might have that thought, Jay. It's not a lot.
Well,
Like,
I own a Jordan PSA graded star.
Yeah, they did
wait, it was just
previously.
for
Yeah.
that one. I want to send you to the basement. Do you have it in the basement?
I do. Well, it's an '86, but
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I'll bring it out. It's pop one of one.
Hey,
None.
you go get that. That I'm interested in. Don't hold
I
out on
mean,
us
you,
like that. Yeah, go
We'll
ahead.
see it.
Don't hold out on us like that. That's I'm interested. Because Topps gave up on doing it very early. So I do think, but there were a handful of star cards that they did grade with PSA.
Hmm.
So they do exist, but they're rarer than hen's teeth. But if you basically by doing it, you immediately legitimize it. You basically say like, okay, now we're good. If they're willing to do it and they can do it, because the issue wasn't that they couldn't. The issue was they just weren't comfortable that but there's a lot of these that got printed after the fact and a bunch of stuff. But if they get to the point like, okay, fine, send them in and we'll grade them.
Apparently, from what I heard, and again, this is all speculation because nothing has been announced, but apparently Nat is sitting on some, and he actually had the guy that I guess trained Beckett come in and give his scholarly course on how to do those, and so they want to. I guess there's supposed to be at some point a announcement made or whatever. So I was just curious what people's thoughts were because, again, the Fleer is an iconic card, but there's just so much of them out there. There's so many of them.
Yeah.
So,
But that's the
you
reason why I
know,
said some of the hardcore Jordan collectors would love that. For them,
right.
it would be for them that would be like the only reason they held back was because of that concern over that piece because they would like to have that card. You make it available to them, they're interested. So Jay, you said which year were these ones?
this is the best of the new. I graded this
Yep.
back in
There you go. Yep.
1992, just before they stopped
Fake.
grading them.
Yep. And you can tell by the top that you've just got the really old flip on it, like the really old label on it.
I graded the entire set. This was the best Jordan card known to exist at the time because it was rumored to be only 440 that were made. So this is Jordan, and then there's Ewing in the set,
Nice. All right.
Oh,
and then Olajuwon.
Nice.
And the other card in the set was Ralph Sampson, which, because of the cost of grading, I didn't grade the Sampson because he was already a bust at that time.
Right.
Oh, man.
So, but these are all pop one of ones. I actually have them in the registry.
Oh,
But
guys.
the problem with Star, and I'm very familiar with Star because I bought and sold a lot of that back in college. Star company cards were very hard to find back then, even in the late '80s, early '90s, and because no one wanted them. I mean, the reason why they weren't highly printed is because no one wanted basketball. At the time, I was buying 80, 81 boxes of the Bird rookie. I was buying it for $5 a box in 1988, 89, and I would just open them. And all basketball, even hockey was not that expensive. You could buy, I think at the time, this is probably '87. You could buy Gretzky O-Pee-Chee rookies for about $9 or $10 in top condition.
Yeah, sounds
I
about
didn't
right.
buy any, because people told me to buy them, but I'm like, well, I like basketball. But the interesting thing, I don't think they'll ever grade Star Company. And I know Nat Turner is a big collector of Star Company basketball that's been graded.
Yeah. He's also
They
got a
won't
ton of
grade.
basketball in his collection, so he has a ton of it.
It's not worth their time. There's not enough cards to grade,
Well,
and a lot of
so
them are already in BGS slabs.
yeah. There's
so I
10
was
years they
telling them
missed.
while you were gone, there's a guy I talk to very frequently that reached out to me, and because I have a Facebook group and do the channel and everything, so I have a little community built, and a lot of people communicate with me, and obviously doing the group subs and everything else. So a lot of information gets flowed in. Supposedly, and again, that's why I said this is still speculatory. Supposedly, this has already been done,
Done
and
deal.
Nat actually had the guy in that went to
And
Beckett.
Steve Taft, you're referring to Steve Taft.
Okay, well, apparently Nat had him come in because Nat has an interest in PSA doing the star cards. as you said, Nat is a collector of them, and he wants them in the PSA slab. There's supposed to be an announcement. That's why I said this is speculatory because it hasn't been made. Um, and that's why I was just throwing the thought out there. If it and it sounds like it could be likely, if it happens, what would it do to the shift on the Jordans? Um,
I think
So,
it'll
yeah.
have its own little increase. It'll really go through the roof, but I don't think it'll have any shift on the Jordan. Not with the popularity of Jordan the way it is today. 10 years
yeah, I
ago?
would. Yeah,
Well,
I
how
would say
popular was Jordan back then, Jay?
he was popular, but he
The
wasn't
rookie
winning.
and stuff like that.
So the price comparison, the 84-85 rookie was $600 or $700, and it was about $150, maybe 200 in the early 90s for the Fleer. But in terms of price comparison, so the Star was always more popular. I don't think the Star will eclipse the 86, 87, regardless of population, only because 86, 87 Fleer is the iconic. It's the difference between the Bowman Mantle rookie, right? The true, we'll call it the true rookie,
exactly.
and the 52 tops. 86, 87 Fleer is just, it's the hobby darling. It just is, regardless of whether it's deserved or not. That's just the
It's
pinnacle
too hard
Jordan
to shift the
card.
market, but the Star cards will go up, so that's good for you.
They would go up, yeah. I do like that.
Well, actually, no.
comparison,
My cards are more valuable now because there's only 59 graded.
That is true, because you do have the PSA ones that went through.
Sell it now.
Exactly.
Hello, Ken.
Yeah, but I was gonna say though, I do agree that that it would make it a little bit more interesting for sure. I like the comparison though. I think the comparison between the 51 Bowman actual Mantle rookie versus the 52 tops, which keeps getting cited as Mantle rookie. It's never been the Mantle rookie. It will never be the Mantle rookie, no matter how hard you try, guys. Because if that's the Mantle rookie, then what do we do with the 52 Bowman?
So, and here's like where it's fun to have these discussions.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. That is the iconic card, right? But doesn't some of that value go into the story about how scarce it is? And couldn't that then transition into the scarcity of the Star? I mean, don't get me wrong. The Fleer is the better image. It's the more known iconic card. But the Mantle comparison has scarcity attached to it. So, which way is it driven? Is the iconic image, or is it scarcity, which the Mantle has both? Which one goes more in the collector's mind?
So I would raise this as the debating point. BGS grades them now. No one thinks that BGS is not good at authenticating it because Steve Taft is the
Eric?
person who spearheaded. Let's put BGS issues aside.
Put that picture that I sent you, please.
Which one? Usually, when there's Beckett slander, you send me a lot of pictures. Because
So,
be
I
more
know
specific.
he wants the CEO or whatever. Of,
No, I want the
that
one
guy.
that I just sent you this week. Again, showing you that this is the most garbage company that's ever been involved in the hobby.
The upside down Jordan?
I think
Yeah,
I got that one.
that's-
Yeah, okay, hold on. I got this one.
That's the one.
Yeah, okay,
The
hold
upside
on.
down
Hold on.
Jordan.
We got it. We got it. Hold on.
It's upside down holder. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right side up.
Now, to be clear, I want to make a quick point of order here. This is stupid. However, I should point something out. This is the same man that does one touches upside down. So how do I know? How do I know that Eric is not the one directly responsible for this and he's trying to throw shade at Beckett? That's the only point of order that I want to make on this. Eric, does he who does not know how one touches work want to dare throw shade from your glass house? Throw your stones, please. Throw your stones.
But yeah, my main point on the grading thing, even if PSA did it, I don't think it would increase the value, but not materially, because BGS graded cards of all the Star Company cards exist,
Yeah.
and they are substantially. I think they're underpriced, but the hobby gets to make that decision, and the hobby has already said.
Well, hey, we
that-
talked about this, Jay. Remember, the pumping never
Would there be?
stops.
I like what Bobby went with it real quick. I just want to ask a question. Would there be, given that it is a rare card, we all believe and are comfortable that it's a rare card, would there be plenty of incentive then for the beginning of a shifting of the narrative? You make it available for PSA to grade, it becomes a lot easier to sell the narrative. It's like, actually, guys, the 86 sphere is trash. Get the 84 star because that's the real Jordan rookie. And then all of a sudden it's like, yes, we agree.
One Nat Turner video, you're
Actually, Jay, I don't know how much you went around to other dealers in Chantilly, but
I did.
you know?
I stayed. I was alone, so I stayed behind the table. Yeah.
Okay, so at that show alone, there was more Fleer Jordans out for sale than I had ever seen, ever at that show. I didn't know
There's
if that was
22,000 of them graded in PSA in various grades, and there's 10,000 in BGS holders. So yeah, that makes sense.
right. But what I'm saying is, the past several years going to that show, like I bought one in October of, I think it was October of 2020. I bought
lucky
one.
you.
There was only 8 or 9 at that show. I actually didn't even buy it from a dealer. I had to buy it from a guy that was at the show looking to sell one because all the dealers had them overpriced. Or I shouldn't say overpriced, priced higher than I could afford. This past show, this past show, I don't even know how many I seen. It seemed like every table I was at, and they weren't just like 4s and 5s. These were 9s, 8s. I didn't come across any 10s, but they were, higher grade of the card, and that was just really surprising to me because when they actually went up, when the 10s were exceeding very high, I guess people were sitting on them because they didn't know what the ceiling was going to be on it, and they dried up. And now it's like, well, they're coming back down. Let me unload them. If this shift comes in with the star, that's why I was kind of curious. What could this do then for the star? I mean, you don't ever rarely see them out on the market. And I'm not specifically talking about all of them. What is it? The 101 that everybody highly goes after, the
8045 101.
Yeah, that's the one I'm basically talking. Could that shift over the 86 Fleer and then potentially hurt the Fleer in a sense? It's still going to be an iconic card and have value. I'm not saying it's going to zero, but could that star like creep into what everybody then wants? And if it is a thing where Nat's gonna talk it, you never know. So
Can I ask a question kind of related to that? And this I'll pose this to everybody. I'm just kind of curious. I'm going from memory. It's been a little while since I looked at it. So the 84 star Jordan, I think, was all red border, right? It was like this strong red border, which is a cool little color match. Kind of a fun little thing as well. People like that now. But let me ask this question, Jay, Beckett wise, do they have pristine 10s? Or some 9.5s? What's the situation?
I think they have 9s and 9.5s. I don't believe there's a 10.
Okay.
I know there's 5 or 6 PSA 101s,
Okay.
8045 101s. Nat owns, I believe, an 8 or an 8.5. He bought it at a Golden auction before the eventual purchase.
Golden's just everywhere tonight. Isn't it wonderful? Hobby Goat, y'all. Hobby Goat.
So he paid 85,000 for it, and he talked about it after he bought it. And I think Rob, I can't remember his name, he bought one too. It's interesting. What I would say is there's several hundred 101, 8045 101 Jordans that have been graded through BGS. At least, and now it's hard to access their pop report. This is Eric's comment. You literally have to log in, and then
you got to log in and do a bunch of junk. It's not great.
That card also has a lot of issues because in terms of the cut, it's actually undersized, and so it creates a lot of issues just because of its placement on the sheet. It's a really interesting card. The subsets will come into play, but I still say I think that the hobby has absorbed the Star Company, and I don't think it will ever be able to get out of its way. Even if PSA comes in and says, like, the cards I have now, people are like, well, they're all they reprinted them, and I won't go into it because I'm working on a story with someone else, but I was actually involved in one of the FBI investigations about it because I was curious about some of the Star Company cards I had back
Jay's
in
history's really
'92.
unfolding here.
Yeah, and so I'm still developing the story with the person because I just find it fascinating, right? That's why,
Sure.
these are vintage holders. I graded them. I haven't sold them because I'm like, I don't want to have people concerned about, where they came from. I mean, PSA graded them. They, who am I to say? But I actually was in I gave some of the cards that were discussed in one of the books to the author because I'm like, hey, what do you think? And it's really Star is fascinating, and I really think at some point they need someone like Bobby to actually tell the story around these cards. But because of that taint, I don't think they will ever rise to the level of prominence, even though it's a very important set where there were no basketball cards in that year.
I'm going to throw one counter to you. And it's the classic. Money talks. And the reason I say, let's play out the scenario. Let's say PSA says, fine, we'll grade it. Cool. You bring out an 84 Star Jordan, PSA 10. We get Golden, we get Daps, we get all the hype beasts. We bring them all in. Damn thing sells for damn near $2 million, just for the hell of it. It goes off on this ridiculous number. It's got to be a crazy number. The crazier, the better. You get this crazy number, and all of a sudden people are like, yeah, I'm into it. It's like, aren't you worried about it? Nope. Everything's cool. As long as they grade it, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing a hypothetical. If we get the absolute maximum hype pushing into it with the PSA 10, we get the branding, all the branding, we get all the hype throwing it into it, boom, there you go.
That's all it really takes, Someone to write an article, someone to, a few big names to really say a few things.
It just needs to be a number that pops off the page because we need a number that pops off the page for a card that hasn't been anywhere in that stratosphere previously. It would be very interesting to see how many people don't know the history and wouldn't care. Is kind of the
I'm
point
trying to think of what the highest selling Jordan card is, and beside it's 86, 87 Fleer because even those PMGs those are at 5. I think
the
it
highest
might
selling
be
is the game used auto.
Yeah, there was a crazy.
There's a game
sale.
used auto that went for $1 million or
it went
$2
for
million
like
or something.
2.1 million or something like that. But back to your talk on the reprinting and everything, and you would know more than I would because this just been information relayed to me. But is it true or false that the plates for the 84 weren't ones that were involved in the reproduction ones?
So
that those were like destroyed.
Well, so the issue is, were they ever reprinted using original plates? And it's conjecture that later years they were, and they say, and for some reason the earlier years they weren't. The real question is, there's no actual evidence that in the later years they were. There's a lot of rumors about it, and it's really because of how Star was printed, and there are variants out there. And Steve Taft, there's a lot of different articles that he's talked in, and he basically said, look, they use 2 printing companies.
I just heard that the 84 actually the plates were destroyed, and those were never ones that got reprinted. So.
There's no evidence that they were ever destroyed or recovered. There's no evidence that the plates from later years were ever destroyed or recovered. It's just the thought was that more cards surfaced later, and the question was, where did they come from? There's a much bigger. We don't have to get into it on this call. There's not call, but this thing that. There's a lot of there's a lot of interest.
I'm sending the bill to Eric. It's fine. Don't worry about it. He's good for it.
You can look at
keep talking,
around Star and what happened to their assets over time, particularly in 1990. Some of that is documented based on who acquired different assets at different times, twice post bankruptcy. It's really interesting, and then where a lot of those cards came from, and a lot of the suspicion about later printings materialize with what's called the best of the best set, which it's very interesting because for the best of the new and a lot of other, they actually reused images for the best of the best, and no one ever saw those cards come out until 1990. So there was issues there, and there was a Magic Johnson set as well, and even to this date now, Beckett won't grade best of the best or the Magic Johnson set anymore, and some other sets. And so part of it is the best of the new, and then there's a particular run of cards in '86 that they say that they won't grade anymore, but they did grade them at the time. And then the person who explained to them how to grade them and trained them to grade it was Steve Taft. So there's just a lot of things that run around, and the hardest thing about these cards is they're very simple cards. Like it's like a very plain stock, and the printing is very simple. So it's not like I think baseball cards at the time were more sophisticated than Star Company cards, and it's because they didn't have a lot of money. This company couldn't sell the 5,000 they tried to sell of each card.
Has anybody ever contacted to see if they could find the printer where it was done and tracked it down? That's the first rule, is like you're trying to go through PSA to find the information. You should go and finding where they printed them, putting ads in newspapers, and that'll really confirm most of the things. Remember, it's 1984, so you still have a chance, a window, where a lot of the stuff that I've documented, like most people are gone. And,
I think someone
should jump on this. And
I haven't seen much in terms of a story. The other rumor out there was, it was that the printers themselves just printed extra cards, right? Overruns, right? So you don't know what happened. It's
with the quality of the manufacturer, there's no reason to believe they couldn't have. It wouldn't have been that difficult.
Right.
This right here, Hobby Shift. It has a story. It has a myth. It has rumor and legend.
But
that's why I want to be on. I want to be a star on the Netflix show, and then I'll invite Carlos on.
There you go, as you should.